can bring depression and mental health issues. So we discuss about anything. And last time, what we, for the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about depression. If you have missed any of the discussion we've had, please go back on the previous week so that you get to understand about depression, how we can deal with it. And we're still discussing how we can always manage to cope with everything that's happening around us. So on today's topic, or in today's discussion, we're going to talk about different ways we can cope with depression. So I would like to invite Ristra to tell us how we can help ourselves.
Okay, so the first topic, we have 3 topics for you this evening that we're going to discuss. The first one is self-love. And the reason why this is important, because when you love yourself, then can you be depressed? I don't think so.
No.
So therefore, we need to love ourselves first, so that we can cope with anything that comes our way.
Very true.
The next thing we're going to talk about is humor. And laughter, as we know, is very important. And the third thing is gratitude. And it's about being thankful for everything. So now we're going to get into the discussion. So the first one is self-love. So what was right, so for self-love, we have to understand that when we look into the mirror, we don't just see a physical body, but we have to understand that God lives in us. So by taking care of ourselves, we take care of God. So whether you be religious or not, some people may not believe in God, but your spirit, whether or not your spirit needs to be hygiene anyway. And therefore, they say cleanliness is next to godliness, but it's a matter of the way we think, the way we present ourselves, the way we feel about ourselves. All these are important for self-love. And after self-love actually releases hormones called endorphins, which are actually feel-good hormones. And who doesn't need to feel good?
Very true. I want to feel good.
Yes. So it's like eating an ice cream or something. Yeah, we just want more of it.
Exactly. You know,
Yeah.
Ristra, you talking about self-love. I remember when I started having my own children, it's like I completely forgot about myself. I wasn't in anywhere, like my thought completely, like I couldn't remember that I exist, apart from only knowing that, okay, I need to eat, I need to sleep, I need to rest, things like that. But in terms of like thinking about myself, it's like my thoughts were occupied, almost 8% of my thoughts were occupied by my children, thinking about them, how, they are, what am I gonna do with them today? Do they need the food, the type of food I'm gonna feed them, the drink, milk, all those kind of things. So I came to realize that, and one day I was actually dressing up. I was going to one of the hospital appointment, and I just dressed up, put on anything. I dressed my children very smart. And on my way going, I was like, oh my God, I wasn't looking like this when I was the girl. When I didn't have children, I could just do makeup and, make sure the clothes I'm putting on really good matching, shoes, bag, everything. But when I started having children, all this completely disappeared. I wasn't thinking about anything about myself. And every time, which is time I go out, I could see or I could feel that I look rough. And I never really confronted myself. The only thing I remember, I used to to have that conversation by myself. I was like, okay, I've got children, I need to look after children, and then let them grow up a little bit, and then I'll look after myself. I think most of us go through that phase where you like much more focusing on caring of someone else, and then you forget about yourself, which is really important. You are more important than you think.
Yeah, because that reminds me when we're on a plane and they talk about the oxygen mask falling down if the plane goes at the wrong altitude. It always says put your mask on first before helping anybody else. So if you have a baby, the first thought will be on the baby, but because they said you have to sort yourself out first, then you will put on your mask first, because if you die, then the baby will die too. There's no way the baby can put on the mask.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is important that we take care of ourselves before we focus on other people. So you're quite right about that.
Yeah, and then even another thing I could add is that when you tend to omit yourself and you don't think about yourself, you are thinking that you're offering the maximum support to either is your husband or your children or your loved one. You feel like you're offering them all this much support, and you feel like it's very satisfying them. Of course, they will be satisfied, and you will feel like, yeah, I'm satisfied. But when you sit down by yourself, you will realize that there is a huge gap on what you are doing, and you actually you feel like, should I stop or should I continue? But because you feel like you've started doing something, you always want to see it finished. And I think that's where we get trapped from. And also the other thing is that by thinking like you're giving them that 100% support and you forgetting yourself, you also don't realize how much you're damaging yourself. Because how about really giving that much sacrifice and you end up becoming sick through giving that much sacrifice? So who is going to suffer in the middle? So if you become sick, now who's going to look after these people? So it must be, I'm not saying that we shouldn't support people around us, but we should make sure that we are 100% happy inside and outside before we can actually offer support to somebody else.
Yeah, because how could you make people happy if you're not happy? How could you give to some people what you haven't got? To me, it doesn't make much sense. Because in order to make others happy, you have to have happiness. You have to know what it's like to be happy. So therefore, we need to fix ourselves first, and then we can fix other people.
Very true. Because I remember when I came to realize that I should actually have been number one before I could support anyone else. I realized when I was supporting my children, I was feeling satisfied, but I wasn't happy at all. Because each time I go out, my nails are not done, the way I dress, I'm not feeling satisfied. And the day I realized that I needed to look after myself first and then my children second, I was the happiest person ever. And also the support I used to give them, I felt much more energy, and I felt like, it's like I was a new person because I could feel the energy I have. I could feel the love that I have inside me, and I was pouring it to my children at the same time. It's just beautiful feeling to look after yourself first, and then you look after another person next. So you're the number one first. I really want to emphasize that. Make sure that in everything you do, either your husband, your children, your baby, your newborn, you are number one to feel satisfied before you can offer anything. Otherwise, you will be damaging yourself internally. And in the long run, you will realize the damage you have already made.
Yes, because, okay, one thing I do not agree with is that some men think that their wives are not doing enough for them. The man is working, the woman is working, and when she gets home, she still has to take care of the food and get the kids school uniform ready and everything, do the laundry, and he's just probably sit down watching TV after work because he's so tired. And then afterwards, he wants some sex. And then you're so knackered that there's nothing much you can do. And then he gets fed up with you because you're not taking care of yourself anymore, and he'll cheat on you with another woman.
You know what kills that, Ristra, is just lack of confidence. Lack of confidence. When you're not confident enough, when you don't feel good about yourself enough, when you don't, and that's when you start feeling like you're not worthy enough. And that's when you realize somebody is just trying to monitor, like to penalize you, or you don't have a say in anything. And then you realize there is no really good communication. There is not enough communication among the couple, because you feel like because you don't value yourself, because you don't love yourself, you don't have that self-love. Because if you have that self-love, you tend to value yourself more. You tend to feel like you're much more important than the other person. So once you don't love yourself, this other person who is around you will definitely take advantage of you.
Exactly.
And you won't feel like free communicating what you want to communicate, because you know that, oh, if I say this person will immediately put me down, so I rather keep quiet. So that self-love, it's everything. You may be adult, you may be a child, whatever age, self-love will serve you best.
Right. Another scenario with the self-love is that I ask some of my patients is that if you can't love yourself, how could you love your boyfriend or your husband or somebody? How could you love anybody else if you can't love yourself? And those people end up in narcissistic relationships, traumatic relationships, because they cannot love themselves. So they depend on somebody to love them in order to love themselves, in order to feel a sense of esteem. Somebody has to love you. And if the person decides they don't love you anymore, you all fall down like Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah. And some people, they end up not waking up after all that fall, because they feel like the whole world has collapsed. That's why it is very, very important to make sure that you love yourself. Don't depend to anybody to make you feel good, to make you feel loved, to make you feel like you're important. Everything starts with you. Once you start feeling like you're more important, you loving yourself, you can get yourself this, you can get yourself that. That's when you start feeling having that you have a value, you valued. But if you don't have any of this and you're looking for relationship, this person will come. And then if it's someone who is providing you this, providing you that, yes, those things will be there. But then how about one day that person is no longer able to provide those things? That's when you realize that, there is no more, there's nothing left for you. So it is very important to definitely do self-love. Love starts with you.
And it's valuing yourself as well, because self-love is giving yourself value and people will respect you.
Yeah, okay, it's okay. Yeah, I think for today it is let's just talk about self-love, because I feel like it's very important. Even like, for example, if you're out there and you've got children who are growing up, although you're not gonna go and start teaching your children to have that self-love, even if yourself you don't have one. So everything starts with you. And one of the best thing about self-love is like, once you love yourself, you don't feel shy about anything. You don't feel like you can't say what you want to say. You feel free to express yourself how you feel. Your mind, your body, much more relaxed than somebody who doesn't have that self-love. And also it makes your environment much more loving, because people who are around you, they will feel it.
Yeah.
They will feel it, the way you walk, the way you communicate, the way you speak to them, your tone voice, your facial expression, all those kind of things. So if you are somewhere like at workplace, like for example, where you work, I work in a very busy environment, and one of my bosses said that she have never seen me get angry or get annoyed about anything, or get shouting about situation or something, because most of people I work with, this is their behavior. They will be throwing themselves, shouting, or this is not working, this is not happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, having to deal with different incidents around us. And but for me, the way I deal with it is a completely different from how everyone does. And so my boss was saying that, she have never seen anybody like this working in this kind of environment and they behave the way I behave. I think, honestly, for me, having self-love, and this is not something I used to have before. I never had this before. I used to be that person who is a people pleaser. I always used to come last until I realized that actually I should be number one, to come up front before I could, treat everyone else out there. So honestly, once you have and you feel like you're loving yourself, it will serve you in terms of the relationship. It may be at home, people you work with, even the people you meet on the road, or even in a shop, in a market, anywhere. People can easily feel the temperature. Have you ever met somebody? I recently went to see this lady. So I have a wedding to go, and I went to make a dress to this in her shop. And when I went in, someone recommended her to me that's where she's doing her dress. When I stepped in that shop, she was right there, but the way she communicates and the way her body language, she made me feel very, very cold. Somehow before I didn't know how we are connected in spirit, but we don't realize. Because when I met this lady, the way she looked at me, the way she communicated with me, it completely changed. I could feel like, no, this is the wrong place to be. So we definitely need to love ourselves so that we can be much more useful to people around us.
Yes, and we'll be more comfortable and more confident and self-esteem. Okay, so on that note, we'll end the session for tonight. And remember to subscribe, give your comment, click the notification bell, and share this video. And we shall see you next week where we'll talk about gratitude.
Thank you so much. Thank you.